everyone. It's good to see you all. I feel that I'm a bit one of the few with a tie. I was trying to figure out what's the best dress code at Collision to do a press conference. But you know, the good thing that we're going to be talking about is that what I'm going to be announcing this morning is the largest investment ever in AI in Canada. So I thought that if we're going to be doing an announcement on the largest investment ever in AI, we should do it at Collision. So I'm very grateful that you would be here today and participating in this press conference. And for all of those who travel to come to Canada, I've met some of you this morning. Thank you. Thank you for coming to the most energizing conference I think I've ever attended. It's one of my first, but certainly not the last one. And I'm really, really grateful that you have gathered here in person. I think it's all good for us to be in person after so many years that we could not be. And I see thousands of people with wonderful ideas and technologies that want to change the world. And I must say, if there's an inspiring place to be today, Collision in Toronto in Canada is certainly the place to be to look at the future. I'm sure, like me, you can feel the energy in the room. I'm sure I'm not the only one. You go everywhere. Actually, I came even earlier this morning than the press conference to make sure I could be inspired by the energy in the room and meeting so many creative people that are trying to change the world with technology, with AI, with quantum, with cybersecurity. And I must say to you, I like every minute that I've spent here so far, and I'm sure it's going to be the same for you, because when you walk in the corridor of Collision, you kind of understand the shape of the world to come. These new technologies that are going to help us to tackle big issues like climate change. Think about COVID in the biomanufacturing sector, in the automotive sector. I can share a dream I have with you. I want Canada to be the green supplier of choice to the world. And I think when I see a number of companies here, we're going to do that together. And I think also this is a particular exciting and pivotal time for the world. We are about to switch into a more digital world, and obviously having companies like the one that I see here today coming to Toronto and providing the solutions that will power the economy of the future is inspiring. You've seen that, I don't need to tell you because I'm looking at you, the new digital world is changing our lives in major ways. You see that in the way we shop, and I'm sure how you shop, I would say, how we connect with friends and families, and certainly how we access information and attend school, attend work, and even enabling new forms of work. I think we see that the digital platforms are pretty much everywhere in our lives. And as we have all experienced, the global pandemic has accelerated the transformation at an even more rapid pace. We've seen people doing traditional jobs from home, and we've seen a number of technologies that have enabled new things to happen. I can tell you, I learned of Zoom when I was Foreign Affairs Minister, and they asked me to chair a meeting of the UN. And they said, Minister, we'll do that on Zoom. This was before anyone had probably heard of Zoom. And I said, what is Zoom? Well, he said, you'll gather everyone around the world and have a meeting. And I used to say, well, if you have more than 10 people on a conference line, it's tough, let alone 100 people on a Zoom. But I must say this was one of the better meetings I ever had at the UN, and it allowed more inclusion. People who would always, or perhaps historically, not have been able to fly to New York to attend a conference, everyone could join. And that for me was a game changer that we have seen now more and more. And as we have seen our economy, the competition for new ideas even more fierce. We're seeing a marketplace where anyone, and that's what is inspiring. I see so many young women, I've met so many of them here, anyone today with a laptop and an internet connection can create new products and services that can change the world. And that is really the new world we are living in, and the one we want to foster certainly in Canada. And while Canada has always been a leader in the digital space, I would say it's more important than ever to ensure that our digital policies are well adapted to the new reality. And what I'm saying about Canada is probably true to your countries. Whether you're coming from Europe, whether you're coming from the United States, whether you're coming from Africa or Asia, that new reality is true for all of us. I want us in Canada to become a leader in the digital and the data-driven economy. I want us to be best in class to attract the talent that is gathered here in Collision. The talent that you see walking in the halls, those are the talent that we want to see here in Canada, and obviously to attract further investments. I often like to say I want Canada to be in front of the parade. I want us to lead, and what I'm going to be announcing to you today will tell you that we are taking a leading position. We're going to own the podium, and it's thanks to people like you today. And a big part of making that happen is to ensure that Canadians have confidence that their online data is safe. I think safe is probably the key word when you talk about data from a consumer perspective, that their privacy is being respected. Everyone wants to benefit from the new digital technologies, but we all want our privacy to be respected. And we want to see that companies are deploying and developing AI in a responsible way. We want to see an AI which is going to work for the people, and it's exactly what we've been doing in Canada. Some of you who are Canadians may have seen that just last week I tabled legislation to modernize Canada's privacy law for the first time in over 20 years. And if you just think back 20 years, that's the last time that Canada's digital privacy laws were updated. This is before the smartphones, this is before Facebook, this is even before Twitter and Pinterest. So can you imagine our legal framework needed to be updated to obviously deal with the reality of today. And that's why this new legislation that we have in Canada is necessary to bring us to a par, I would say, to lead in the economy of the 21st century. And hopefully we can inspire other nations around the world to follow suit. I attended the G7 Digital Minister in Düsseldorf just a few weeks ago. And obviously Canada becomes a reference point when we say, what are the best practices? What are you doing on digital? How can we lead together to have responsible AI? Canada is leading the way. And it will, the new legislation we're putting together will give individuals more power over their data. If there's a key message that I want to tell you is that if you come here in Canada, you will have more power over your data. And you will have also a new set of rules for business that want to innovate. So for me, stability and predictability is everything in business. We want people to have more power over their data so that we can enable innovative companies to succeed and to develop the new technologies. But we all know that privacy is only part of the picture. Indeed, you've probably seen that increasingly companies are relying on artificial intelligence systems. And we also need to make sure that Canadians need to be confident that they will not be compromising the protection of their information. That's why, as part of this new legislation we presented, we created a new law that will help regulate the responsible development and deployment of AI. Some of you may know that Canada was there with funds to develop what we call GPay, which was about making sure that artificial intelligence will serve the people. And we want to continue in that. And that's why I'm so proud this morning in the spirit of leadership and putting Canada as a leader in the responsible AI development. We are talking this morning about our Pan-Canadian artificial intelligence strategy. And I want to say this is one of the first AI strategy around the world, and countries around the world have been looking at Canada. Some of you may remember we launched our first strategy in 2017 in partnership with an institution in Canada which we call the Canadian Institute for Advanced Research. And the goal at the time was really to attract academic talent and attract researchers, attract investors. And I must say we have mission accomplished because the numbers of people who have come to Canada in AI is quite astonishing. We now have over 100 Canada's artificial intelligence shareholders, and we also have in that group 50 leading international researchers who are attracted to Canada. And now if you look at our AI Institute, whether you look at Montreal, whether you look at Edmonton, whether you look at what we're doing here in Toronto, we have trained over 1,500 researchers, many of whom have come to Canada because of our reputation in AI. And I must say, when I look at the young people here, we also have our global talent strategy to make sure that people can come to Canada. Because what's going to define the vision of the future is the people, it's the talent you can attract. And I think Canada, you're the proof of it. Canada is one of the most attracting places, I would say, for talent today. And so we're quite happy to have AI that will support a number of projects from including improving healthcare for seniors to DNA research. The thing about AI for older folks like me, this is not a vertical, this is a horizontal. This is going to impact every industry in Canada, but also around the world. I often think if you think about industrial strategy like a pyramid, you can think of that AI, quantum, and cybersecurity will be powering every industry that you think in the future, from aerospace, from car manufacturing, for biomanufacturing, for even hydrogen production. So that brings me to the announcement today. That was a long preamble, but since I have you here and they're full of energy, I thought that I would share that with you. But I'm proud to announce that we are going to be investing an additional $443 million in support of the next phase of the Pan-Canadian Artificial Intelligence Strategy. This is going to be the single largest investment ever done in AI in Canada. The second phase of our strategy will focus on things which are crucial for AI, which means commercialization and adoption, standardization, and also fostering talent and research. This will allow us with you to leverage the potential of artificial intelligence to grow our economy, improve our standards of living as Canadians expect, while also continuing to develop, retain, and attract the best talent from around the world. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is a race to the top. And I intend Canada to own the podium with you. So, in conclusion, this is all about building trust and confidence in the digital economy. This is about responsible development of AI. This is about creating opportunities for you, the young generation of entrepreneurs, of coders, of business developers who are looking for a future and want a legal framework that will allow you to do that. So I would say together, let's seize the moment, let's be ambitious, and let's make sure that together with Canada, we lead in the new digital economy. With that, I want to thank you, and I'll turn over to you, our moderator, with a smile. If there is any questions in French, in English, or even if you want to try in Italian, that's fine with me. Up to you.
Tara Deschamps from the Canadian Press.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Let me say good morning first. I didn't recognize you with the mask.
You gotta keep it safe.
But now I can see you. I recognize you.
As I'm sure you know, Quebecers, due to buy freedom, Rogers and Shaw are arguing this is enough to appease the Competition Bureau and create a strong fourth carrier in the telecommunications sector. Do you feel that sale of freedom to Quebecer is enough?
Well, the first thing I would say that when I look at this potential transaction, what has been driving me from the get-go is affordability, affordability, affordability. My role is to make sure that rates are affordable in Canada, that we have more competition and innovation. I have been very clear, and let me repeat it for whomever may not have heard me in Canada, I will not allow the wholesale transfer of license from Shaw to Rogers. What we want is a very competitive environment. We know at a time where Canadian families are feeling pressure on inflation that we want to have more affordable rates. When there's going to be a submission to my department, obviously we'll look at it. But I can already tell you and anyone who's listening to me in Canada and abroad that what is going to be framing our decision is going to be to make sure that rates are more affordable, that we have more competition in Canada that can foster innovation for decades to come. Yes, sir.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. Joshua Payne from the Globe and Mail.
Yeah, how you doing, sir?
Not bad.
It's good to see you.
Yeah. Just a quick question. Where is the $443 million for this new Pan-Canadian AI strategy investment? Where is it coming from within the last federal budget?
It came from the last budget, but obviously we needed to frame a strategy. And as you know, 2017 was the first down payment in having a Pan-Canadian AI strategy, just like we did a quantum strategy. What we're doing today, the $440 million that we're putting forward, is to make sure that now we double down on our strategy. And the reason is that it has paid off dividend. I mean, if you just look at Collision and the number of companies we've been able to attract. I'll share with you a story that the first time I met my counterpart in the United States, the first thing she said to me, she said, Minister Champagne, I must tell you, you have a great head start when it comes to AI. So I think that the world recognized that when it comes to AI, we have great people, we have great talent, we have created great ecosystem. So what I wanted to do with the announcement today is to double down as a government to make sure that not only we would compete, but that we lead when it comes to AI in the world.
And do you have any concerns about the current downturn in the tech sector and any plans to address that?
Can you repeat? I could not hear you properly.
Do you have any concerns about the current, the ongoing downturn across the tech sector, both in public and private markets, as companies are reacting to changes in valuations? And if the government has any plans to address that, or is sort of monitoring that, if you could give any clarity on that, that would be helpful.
Well, my job is to create opportunities. I've been talking to a number of tech folks. I mean, I was here yesterday, I'm here all day. Is to provide opportunities. I must say, I dream about Canada being the green supplier of choice in many ways. I just came from Germany where I was with the big car manufacturers. I'm on my way to Japan in about a week to meet with the chip producer, the semiconductor producer, the car producer, the battery manufacturers. And I think what I'm dreaming of a world is to have Canada leading in manufacturing and innovation. And obviously when you put these things together, it creates good middle class jobs, but at the same time is bringing our tech entrepreneur at the same time. What you're seeing in the number of, and I'm looking at the number of sectors in the industry, whether it's the pharma, where we're going to have the discovery, AI is going to enable to provide better healthcare to people. If I look in the aerospace, it's the same thing. We're going towards hybrid propulsion, where AI will have the big play when it comes to, for example, new materials. When I look about the car manufacturing industry, we all know that the car of the future is basically a computer on wheel with a battery. Well, certainly what I'm trying to do for the folks who are here today, in many ways, is to provide these opportunities, how you bring manufacturing at the same time to foster innovation. So yes, I've seen some of what you're seeing, but on the other end, I would say I've never had so many CEOs calling me wanting to invest in Canada. So I would say the future of tech in Canada is great, and I think doubling down, for example, on AI. In the words of the CEO of one of the largest software companies in the United States, who told me when I was at the World Economic Forum, he said, Canada is on the road, and the world is noticing. So I think it's up to the folks here at Collision and others to make sure that we make the case for Canada. I keep saying not everyone in the world wakes up in the morning thinking about Canada. You do, I do, and I think a few other million of Canadians do, but we need to make the case for Canada. The talent pool we have, the ecosystem we have, the proximity to market, proximity to resources, proximity to assembly line, enabling that with technology, I think we can lead. Yes, madam. You can go, and I saw the lady at the back.
Amy Watson from Cointelegraph magazine. Back to competition, is there a planned reform for the Competition Act for the digital age according to the recommendations of the Competition Bureau, and to reduce anti-competitive behavior of digital giants, for example, removing the efficiencies clause?
Well, thank you for the question. First of all, I would say that we have been working very closely with the Privacy Commissioner. The new digital charter that we have presented, I think, is going to be best in class. This is about, like I said, giving more power to the people with respect to the data, how you can transfer data, knowing what's being collected, having the right to have your data destroyed. And the chapter of the law that I'm most proud of, you will allow me as the stepdad of two wonderful girls, is more protection for children. We all have seen during the COVID-19, we've seen our kids spending more and more time on these digital platforms and making sure that whatever data is collected from children will be considered sensitive, that the parents would have the right to delete or demand that the information would be destroyed, and that the platforms who are collecting data with respect to children would have to abide by the highest standard that you can find. I hope I got the question right. Because of the noise, I'm not sure, but if not, go away and I'll try again.
Timeline. Is there a timeline?
A timeline. Okay, sorry. I didn't hear that part of the question. The timeline, I would say, hopefully as soon as possible. But in a parliament, in a minority government, I need the partners to be able to implement that. What I've been saying to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle is that let's do that for our children. Let's do that for Canada. Let's do that for our tech entrepreneur. That's not going to cost anything. And it's going to provide the best framework. And if you have the best framework, like we see in Estonia and in other places in the world, once we have the legal framework and the predictability, investments will come. So I think this would be the best gift we can give to the tech sector, is to make sure that we have this digital law that will really set the course for the next generation for decades to come. I'm really proud of it, and I hope that together we can have Canadians be with us and having parliamentarians go as quickly as possible.
Hi.
Yes, madam.
Catherine McIntyre from the Logic. Have you had talks with EV Chem since the company said it might pull?
Can you talk just a bit louder?
Yeah, sorry.
Because from my end, I hear more the folks in the back
Right.
room than in the front room.
Yeah, have you had talks with EV Chem since the company said it might pull its plans for its secondary EV materials plant in Windsor? Where does that stand right now? Is LG still in the running there? Are there other
Totally.
companies
You know
being
me.
considered?
I'm relentless. If it was not for the number of meetings we have in Japan, I would have been in Korea as well in a week, but there's too many meetings and there's too few hours in a day. That's not something that I've been able to create, is adding hours to the day. But what I can tell you is definitely we're talking to them. You saw the investment of LG and Stellantis, was about 10 billion in about a few months. And I'm a big believer that we can continue to engage with LG. I've been in touch with their senior management in Korea, and we're going to be continuing. I think that why Canada makes sense to them is proximity. It goes down to proximity to market, resources, assembly line, the fact that we have renewable energy, the fact that the Windsor-Detroit corridor is the third largest corridor of car manufacturing in the world, and the talent pool that we have with our auto sector and our auto workers makes Canada the place to be, and certainly we're going to be continuing. I am more bullish than others when it comes to see people lending their investment in Canada. So we'll be working with them.
So you will be working with LG on this specific plan? Like, are there other companies being considered for that?
I'm talking to everyone, you know me. So I'm relentless. So we'll be in Japan talking to about every company who's manufacturing battery, semiconductor, and cars. And we'll do the same when we're going to be in Korea. But at the same time, we're already in touch with all the Korean manufacturers. And you've seen LG, you've seen POSCO. POSCO coming with GM in Quebec for the first time. GM coming back to Quebec. We've never seen that in the last few decades. So I think the Korean companies have understood that Canada is one of the best places to invest if you want to. I think for folks who are here, I think we all get it. It doesn't make sense to mine minerals in Africa, to refine them in Asia, and to build battery with coal. I think we as customers will want to have not only an electric car, but we want a green car. Canada will be one of the first countries in the world to produce green steel, green aluminum, green batteries, green semiconductors, and we'll have green hydrogen. So if you look at, if anyone on the world wants to green their supply chain, they see Canada on the radar screen. We're part of the solution. And I think our Korean friends have understood that, and we'll be working with them. Yes, sir.
2 more questions?
Oh, sorry, madam. I saw the gentleman in front of me. I didn't see.
No worries. Megan Simpson from Beta K. So with the 443 million, as you mentioned, that was already committed in the 2021 budget. So what for today is kind of the new, what's new that we should be?
The budget is only an allocation.
Sure.
Yeah. And what we're saying is that, what we needed to decide is how we're going to use the money. And I think the decision is around commercialization. It's around adoption, I should say. And it's around making sure we attract the talent. Because what we did in 2017, I call it the down payment. What we did today is doubling down. The reason is, honestly, look at the folks here, is that we see that we have made a name for ourselves when it comes to AI. We've made a name for ourselves when it comes to quantum. I want to do the same thing on cyber. So to your question is that, yes, there was a line in the budget, but as you know, to convert a line into a reality, I think what you're seeing today is how we're going to use that in the best possible way.
Is there going to be more details then on what that's going to look like?
Sure. I mean, there's a press release that gives you very specifically the breakdown of the amounts, and I'll be happy with my team to make sure that you have the exact breakdown, how we're going to do. Some money will go to the cluster, some money will work with CFAR to make sure that the proper allocation, to make sure we continue to lead. Yes, sir. Apologies. I saw you and I saw the lady at the same time.
No worries, no worries. Hi, Roger from Forbes. 2-point question, one more general, one more specific. How does your ministry think about payments innovation? and specific
Can you
payments.
repeat that?
Payments innovation, fintech innovation.
Okay, yeah.
And then specifically, are you coordinating like with the Bank of Canada when it comes to Project Jasper and understanding the payment structure there?
Well, certainly payment innovation. I've been talking to a number of a fintech company. You know, Canada has been pretty prolific when it comes to fintech company. I've also been talking to the Canadian banks to understand where the ecosystem is going. And certainly, I think Canadian companies are making their way. I've seen some of them going in the UK, going in Australia, in New Zealand. I have not personally engaged with the Bank of Canada. That would be more for my colleague in the Ministry of Finance. But I can tell you that I've been engaging with a number of folks in the banking system to understand where's the ball going. You see, if you want to lead in the world, you need to look where the puck, as we say in Canada, where the puck is going 20 years from now. And clearly, to have a framework that will allow you to be able to score. That's what I want our tech company to be able to do. Understanding that the landscape is changing, that the new generation also consumer is consuming, I would say, banking products in a way that is slightly different than folks like me when we started, where you had to go to the branch to deposit your money and to cash your check. We are in a very different way, and I think one which I think is going to allow more innovation. And I've seen also, from the big banks to startups trying to work together. As you know, one of the pride of Canada is having one of the most, if not the most stable banking system in the world. And we want to keep innovation at the same time to make sure we have one of the most stable and well-regarded banking system in the world.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
madam.
very much for taking my question. I'm Jasmine Cara from BNS News.
Yes.
And I was wondering if any part of the new budget is going towards looking into applications of AI in classrooms.
One of the things we have created what we call Global Innovation Cluster, one in Montreal around AI, which is called MILA. And I think that you will see in that cluster, I don't know exactly all the specific projects that they have because they have their own structure, but certainly AI in the classroom is certainly the next, I would say, the next frontier where we need to go, or even the first frontier where we should go. Because if we think about what AI can do in health, what we think AI can do, for example, in manufacturing, what AI can do with respect to space application, clearly when it comes to education, I think that could be a great enabler. As you know, Canada is a big country. We have a lot of rural community. I think the days where education is a building, a brick building that everyone comes, as opposed to distributed education where AI can allow you to access content, to teach you eventually in a way, or assist teacher to make you knowledgeable on a particular topic. I think that's a great application, and I'm sure that if you go on our cluster, there's probably already projects on that. I just don't know of them personally, but I'm sure that they're looking at that.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Minister.
Merci tout le monde. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy Collision. There's no better place to be in Toronto these days. Merci tout le monde. Thank you.